Welcome to this edition of The Insider. I hit the wrong button and played the ending thing and not the start. So you get the full 10-second countdown. Tim Fitzgerald, Brian Hanley, Tim Everson is back from the IR. Jeez, I'm a mess.
I didn't go to the ER.
Hey, Glenn Kedley, welcome to this week's edition. I told the fellas, so now all 32 of you that are here first get to have this insider information. The dogs are in the studio. All hell might break loose at any moment. It could be glorious. Usually they're up in the bedroom, but they convinced me to be an idiot. K-State wins 41-0 over Houston. Okay, that's enough about that. No, seriously, this was pure domination. Brian Hanley, I've never been more convinced of my one lone piece of betting truth. When that warm weather team comes north for the first time and hits that cold air, they don't want to play. And Houston did not want to play.
No, they didn't want to play. Heck, I didn't realize it. I started looking at the schedule. I thought that the announcer was dead wrong. So I looked it up. It was the first time they'd even been out of Texas to play a game this year. I'm like,
Crazy.
Come on, what are we doing? They didn't want to play, but more than that, K-State is just that much better than Houston too.
Yeah.
They whipped them on all phases, just absolutely whipped them from coaching to offense, defense. It was just an absolute demolition.
I think a big key was holding Tim Everson out of media opportunities last week. They didn't see him coming. They also didn't see Cooper Beebe coming, or Will Howard, or DJ Giddens, or Phillip Brooks. Tim, it was impressive how dominating K-State was.
The physicality on both sides, you could tell, just made Houston curl up into a little ball. I mean, you could tell. I mean, really, just in K-State's second drive, I think was when it just kind of broke them, and then it was just a long wait until the end of the game. But I mean, just all around, exactly the kind of performance that they were wanting.
Glenn, should we apologize to the entire city of Houston or just the campus?
Well, maybe both. The thing is that I was most impressed by was K-State's defense the last couple of weeks. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've combined for 83 points, but you can make the argument that TCU and Houston don't have very good defenses, but their offenses are actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
And K-State allowed 3 points combined. The defense is firing on all cylinders right now. I don't know if there is a group that has come further than K-State's secondary. Jacob Parrish looks really good. Keenan Garber he looks night and day from 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
He looks a lot better. Marquise Siegel is playing, I think Kleiman said it, on all conference level, and I don't know that he's wrong the last couple of weeks at least. He's flying around the field. K-State's defense has been phenomenal, and you combine that with a quarterback who seemingly has his confidence back after a couple solid weeks, and it's a recipe that is certainly working. And Kleiman mentioned it, I think, last week in his press conference. Momentum is a real thing, and when you have it, it's tough to slow down, and when you don't have it, it's tough to get back. They got so much momentum right now. I don't know that they could have more. Last year, we saw these two dominant wins. It was against Oklahoma State and against Baylor, but they didn't come in back-to-back weeks. You do that in back-to-back weeks, these guys got to be thinking they can take on hell with a squirt gun, is the old saying. They got to be thinking they're as confident as anybody right now.
That's a good. I got to write that down. Yeah, look, they are playing really well. In fact, I can't point to one thing right now that I find troubling about this team. I still want to see more from the return game. They haven't needed it. They might need it Saturday. But Brian, we focus on that 41 a lot, and we should. The offensive line was dominant from the very start of this game. DJ Giddens was just almost untackable. Tackleable. They couldn't tackle him. And Will Howard was in the zone. But that defense is playing spectacular football right now. They've cleaned up the explosives. They're great in coverage. They're getting pressure. They're Joe Klanderman just keeping the offensive coordinator of the other team guessing. They didn't know what's coming. It's really impressive how this team is really playing complementary football.
Yeah, absolutely. And Glenn hit it right on the head. I think it's the secondary has come along so far since Oklahoma State, and it's just getting out on the field. The guys aren't scared now. They played scared against Oklahoma State. They're just not playing scared. They're like, look, if you're going to throw the ball over my head, throw it over my head. I think I've got enough ability to keep you from doing that, but that's going to be your opportunity. You're not going to get these little short slant route. I'm just not going to give that to you anymore.
No.
And they are taking it away, and it's aggressive football, which is what I think that's what a lot of people are just looking for is like, hey, stop giving this easy stuff because they'll take it. Offenses are too good in college football. They'll just keep taking it all the way down the field. K-State has eliminated that. They're pressuring on non-pressure downs, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6. They're bringing tons of pressure and either getting a sack, getting throwaways. It's just what you said, Fitz. They're mixing it up on defense, and it's a better brand of football. I think it's a brand of football that K-State needs to continue and needs to play to be successful.
Tim, Houston never got in the red zone. They had 12 possessions. 5 of them ended in K-State territory. The farthest in was 44-yard line, except for the one possession, the Avery Johnson fumble, where they took over at the K-State 26, marched it backwards to the 28, and then missed a field goal. That was it. And you know what? You look back at the course of this game, when Houston got the ball to the K-State 44 on its first drive, when it was in like 4th and 6, 8, whatever it was, they should have gone right there. And maybe that changes a lot of the game, but they didn't. They punted, and K-State went down and scored again. And I feel like this game was over.
Yeah, and a lot of that being over is those first 2 super long offensive drives that K-State had. I mean, it just drained the life out of the Houston sideline. Like 15 plays and 12 plays, I think like a total of over 10 minutes between the two. I think a little more than that, actually. I mean, just absolutely. And then it kept the defense fresh. Yeah. I mean, look, they were ready to go. If anything, they were on the sideline so much that they maybe were not, maybe wouldn't have been in the flow of the game, but it was impressive. I mean, they had the perfect game plan for them, and they executed it perfectly, and it just took it. It made a non-factor on all fronts.
It was tactical is what it was, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like as much as them scoring on those drives was, like you said, the time they took to do it. We saw it to start the third quarter last week against TCU. It was like, okay, maybe TCU gets some momentum out of the break. No way, because K-State put together like a what felt like an 8-minute drive that used the whole third quarter. And I know it wasn't actually that long, but it felt like in this game, K-State said, well, why wait until the third quarter? Let's just do that right away. It was just a slow and painful death for the Cougars in Manhattan. And on both sides of the ball, Joe Klanderman and Colin Klein, I know it sounds like coach speak, but they had great game plans.
No, they really did. A reminder that please hit that thumbs up if you're enjoying the video. Help us spread the algorithm a little bit. Just like it's like Halloween candy. Get that algorithm out there. The kids love it. Just actually, when the kids come to the door, say, "Here's some of Fitz's algorithm." They'll love it. They'll really love that.
Here's some insiders.
Yeah, exactly. It's from the insiders. Excuse me. It's also leave some comments over there. Leave your comments. We're going to get to them in a little bit. Usually in the second half. We love those comments, but I did want to bring this one up right here. Brian, is Cooper Beebe a wanted man? Is the law enforcement looking for him for attempted murder? Because he knocked a Houston guy all the way back out the Gulf Coast.
It was literally the exact. We talk about it all the time. It's football speak. Knock him out of the club, throw him out of the club. That was literally the definition of throwing somebody out of the club. Just absolute. I'm running right at you. You see me. There's nothing you can do about it. 15 feet on his back. Feet go flying up in the air. I'm like, that's football. Now that's football. That's what I like to see. Unbelievable. And yes, by the way, yes, they should be looking to arrest him for assault because that was assault.
Yes, that was. Brian, what's your best, most memorable pancake in your college career?
A&M 1997. I remember it like it was yesterday. We ran the same play. Darren Howard he makes fun of me all the time. He said, "Man, you were dead tired." You know how Coach Snyder, if a play worked, he would run it and run it and run it. And we ran, it was 52 blanco. I'm pulling around, and we must have run this thing 5 times in a row. And the last time before we got in the end zone, I'm like, I am dead tired. Well, we did it again. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, this time I remember it wasn't Dat Win, it was Holdman. Can't remember, Warwick Holdman, I think it was his name, and he slipped. And I'm like, yes. And I just dove right on top of him. He fell backwards. I laid on him, and I said, see, that's what you get. Absolutely memorable. I loved it. But in 1997 against Texas A&M, I'll never forget it. Never forget it.
And I wanted to say, too, on Beebe, I think blocks like that probably happen more often than we realize with him. I think a lot of the time it's not right in front of the camera, and it's not right next to the ball carrier. I think Beebe, like, pancakes guys pretty regularly, but that one was right next to DJ Giddens when he had the football, so everyone saw it on national television, but those probably happen 5 or 6 times a game. They're just maybe not that hilarious to watch over and over and over.
That poor guy. Tim Everson, I know you're not a doctor, but is that guy ever going to have children? Or will they, if he does have children, will they just be embarrassed that that's their father that got beat up on national TV?
I mean, I don't want to, scoop anybody, but I'm talking to my Houston sources. He has entered the witness protection program. He will be living a different life. He's actually going to be a soccer player down in Argentina. So he's going to.
Yeah, that I feel thoughts and prayers to that player.
The funniest thing about it was that there was a flag on the play on the defense, and I think because he ran him over so much, like the K-State players were like, dang, that touchdown's getting called back for a flag. And they're like, well, wait, he didn't do anything wrong. Oh, it was on the defense. But they just thought like that the referee just saw it and said, that was so mean, I'm throwing a flag.
Quit being a bully.
Yeah.
Then he finished the
15
night.
yards on the play, bullying.
Then he finished the night in Aggieville. It was, Tuesday Halloweens in Aggieville are epic because you get the Saturday night, the big one, everyone goes out. And then you get the Sunday leftover. And then you get the Monday, hey, tomorrow's Halloween. And then Tuesday night, you get Halloween. Cooper Beebe was Nacho Libre without a shirt on, may I add, in 30-some degrees. That's a damn offensive lineman.
Yes. I'd like to be able to say that my Halloween, my senior year, ended up that way, but it didn't end up that way. It's not for the FCC airwaves. I don't remember a lot of it. It was bad. It was a bad night. It was a bad night. Just a bad night.
Too much candy.
Too much candy. That's right.
It
was too much candy.
It
was too much candy.
Guys, in all seriousness, this team's playing really good football. And somewhere in here we have another one. I'll bring it up now since the fans are doing a great job of giving me questions to ask. Are the Cats really this good or catching teams at the right time? Look, I mean, is it the right time to catch TCU when they're coming off a big win, or Houston when they're coming off an incredible win, an off week, and then challenging Texas? You can make the argument that yes, maybe they had a letdown, but I think K-State's causing those letdowns, Brian. I think they're just coming out, punching teams in the jaw, and when they try to respond, they punch them again. And it's I'm using metaphors, but they're hopping up 14-0 on teams pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said. I think two things can be true. Number one, so I think it's probably they're catching them at the right time. I think K-State has a whole lot to do with that and what they are doing. Look, you're not shutting teams out in college football unless you're playing well. I don't care what happened the week before. You're just not doing that in Power 5 football. You're not shutting teams out. You're not catching somebody who the week before scored 40-plus points and shutting them down to 3 points. Not in big-time football. That just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. So, yes, they may have caught them at the right time, but K-State has a heck of a lot to do with that, man. The way they're playing football, they're just getting after these teams. They're getting after them. And that's what we've been looking for. Not to mention, to go back to this, K-State's really good. Mm-hmm. I know we had the 2 slip-ups. Turns out, like we said, Missouri's a pretty good football team.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State doesn't seem like they're as bad as what we thought.
Yeah.
K-State's really good. Keep that in mind.
But Kansas State, Tim Everson, the last, 10 quarters, 5 halves, basically 103-3. What?
Yeah.
In Big 12 game, that's like Bill Snyder non-conference scheduling scores, Well, we beat our first 3 opponents 103-3. And we're really pissed off about that 3. But this is impressive to watch. This is pure domination right now. The Kansas State Wildcats are a system that they're just falling into and grinding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is this is kind of North Dakota State level dominance defensively. This is kind of what they were known for when Kleinman was there. They've dropped off a little bit this year, weirdly, but this is kind of getting back into old K-State defense, and I saw a couple guys out there throwing up the mob sign. So they're feeling it. I mean, they are. The confidence cannot be higher right now, which is it's super exciting to watch.
Yeah, Glenn. We do talk about Cooper Beebe a lot, and he is special. But this entire offensive line is taking people to the woodshed. I mean, Aiden Gillum is playing at the next level. We talked about Carver Willis last week, but now this week they really rotated all 7 guys in, and they were fresh and fierce. And man, when you got a good offensive line, life is easy.
Yeah, Christian Duffy was in there. He's back. KT Levison looks really good. Hadley Panzer, the list goes on. They got a bunch of them, so you said they can keep them fresh, and they're all. Yeah, we talk about Beebe, but they're all blocking really, really well. I think probably as a defensive lineman, I don't know. I never played D-line, but I think probably you think, okay, Beebe's not blocking me. Thank goodness. And then Hadley Panzer runs you over, or Hayden Gillum snaps the ball and then flattens you. So, yeah, I made the joke, I think, in our first week of the show that I could run for 2 or 3 yards of carry behind this offensive line because they're going to be that good. And although that was a joke, it's true what you said, Fitz. When your O-line is that good, it can make everybody look good. Your quarterback has more time, and then he looks like a superstar. Your running backs have huge holes to run through, right? It makes everybody look better when you have space to run or you have time to throw, and they've been phenomenal. I think the last 2 or 3 weeks, this is what we thought we were getting in the offensive line preseason. They didn't get there right away, but if they can stay at this level, boy, they're gonna be tough to beat.
DJ Giddens, 13 carries in this game, averaged 7.5 yards a carry. And Brian, to go with that offensive line play, he makes everyone miss that first tackle. I don't care if you've got him squared up. You're going to have problems getting him down. He just runs through you, past you, around you. His patience as a running back is incredible to watch because he does have a pretty good gear when he opens it up. But a lot of those carries, he's literally just sifting through the defense, reading blocks as he goes. It is beautiful to watch.
Yeah, the evolution of him changing or transforming into a running back from last year to this year is absolutely incredible. Last year, he was in the game. I thought he ran really hard, but it didn't look like he really knew how to be a running back. He was still doing high schoolish type of things.
Yeah.
This year, he's a totally different guy. He understands how to set up blocks, understands when he needs to be patient, understands when, you know what, this is it. Let's just get the 2, and then that's all we're going to get on this down. He can stiff arm people, elude people. I mean, especially his elusiveness from last year to this year. He doesn't even look like the same person. So I just think he is just so much better as a running back. But a lot of that, too, you could say he's got a guy that plays next to him that can do all these things. Like, look, why not pick up some of the stuff that Trayshawn Ward is putting down? Pick up some of that stuff, man, and work together. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, they're trying to be in competition, and one wants to outdo the other. I think they both just want to win, number one, and they want to see each other do well. But why wouldn't I pick up what this other guy does? If he does it better than me, add that to my game, man. It's just part of being a good football player. I think he's special. I really do.
Tim, we talk about the good game Will Howard had, 15-17. Come on, Will. You were almost perfect. Why aren't you perfect, Will? 2 touchdowns, a long of 40. K-State didn't do this with big plays typically. They did it with, prolonged drives. But that 40-yarder was to Phillip Brooks. He was targeted 5 times, made 5 catches, was available, was open, was on point. This was Phillip Brooks's best game that I remember.
Yeah, by far, this season at least. I mean, they needed that leadership because of injury, because of whatever. It feels like they're now starting to kind of get some newer guys in that are into the wide receiver rotation, that are catching the ball, that are getting open. And when you do that, that allows someone that maybe caused a little bit more attention, like Phillip Brooks, it gives him more opportunities, gets him open more. And then that it's been good to see, because that's been so frustrating this season, to see just the lack of consistency. And now that, guys like Jace Brown are getting in there a little bit more, they're working on a couple more tight ends that are starting to kind of get things going. Obviously, the wide receivers are doing what they're doing. They still don't have that number one guy, that top end guy, but they at least have consistency, which you can work with that. You can work with consistency.
And I think Phillip Brooks needed this.
Oh yeah,
go ahead,
Phillip Brooks needed this. I was the first to say, I believe it was after the Oklahoma State game. He looked rough out there. I don't know if he looked. Sometimes he looked confused. I don't want to say it was an effort thing. Sometimes I don't know if he was on the same page, or he didn't know the play call, or he, like the one time he thought that, I think they handed it off and he was supposed to be blocking for Will, and Will had to like shove him in the back. And I said it on here. I said that was not good to see out of a 6th-year senior. He needed a game like this, and he was instrumental in the offensive performance on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. It was
well.
Go ahead, Barry. Go.
Well, I was just going to say, it's one thing that we need to see this. Both of you guys are absolutely right, because, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but Texas is going to load the box and say, you're not going to run it. You're going to have to beat one-on-one coverage. That Texas is going to do that. So for us to be able to move the football, throwing the ball through the air, I'm not saying we can't run it against them. I'm just going to say Texas is going to challenge us up front. They're going to do that. They're going to stack the box. We're going to have to throw the football, which means we're going to have to get some separation. So, and it was good to see. I mean, it really was good to see, because we're going to need him. We're just going to need him.
See, that's why he's a pro. He just pivoted me right into the Texas game without me having to do a damn thing.
Top-notch segue right there.
I'm just sitting here. That was amazing. Let's look. Does anyone else have to say about the Houston game? Because I feel like we're out of topics. They stunk. K-State good, 41-0. That's a wrap.
Last thing I'll add, Fitz, is that we've talked about them a lot, but I think they deserve to be talked about a lot. We talked about the DBs, the linebacker group. That's a group that's kind of beat up. They lost, in my opinion, a guy that I thought was going to be probably an All-American this year in Daniel Green. They lose him. Jake Clifton's been really good. Austin Romaine has been really good. Desmond Purnell has taken his game to another level. And then we knew Austin Moore was going to be really good, and he has been as advertised. That group has been as impressive as probably any group on the defense.
Des Purnell, the Topeka Terminator. Hey, let's talk about Austin Romaine. Houston thought they had a little something. They got him isolated on a wide receiver, split him out wide, just laid the ball out there. And there's Austin Romaine just running with the dude. Like, I got this. It wasn't great coverage, but it was good enough. And Donovan Smith stunk. But it was impressive. He wasn't fooled one bit. And he wears
what's the thing he wears behind his shoulder pads? It makes you look slower, so it looks like he was like humming down trying to keep up with that wide receiver, which made it look even more impressive that he broke up the pass.
Brian and I have the same problem with our belly. It makes us look slower. And Tim just is slow. Okay, let's move to Texas, guys. I also want to keep in mind that Brian Hanley and I will be recording on Wednesday with the PowerCat pregame podcast, along with Ryan Wallace and Ryan Gilbert. We got a lot to talk about with Texas, but let's get into some kind of topic on the surface right now. I went back and watched that game they had last week, and BYU's bad. I mean, a lot of it was Texas causes it. Texas is big. They're physical. They're athletic. They got dudes, and Brian, they're beatable. I see a beatable team.
Well, here's the thing. Texas it's just what you said. It's all of that. Texas is always all of that. Yep. They always have guys. They always are big and physical. Now, they don't always play big and physical, but they can be had. And it's just what I said. They're going to make on offense, they're going to make us throw the football. But that doesn't mean we can't run the ball at them. It doesn't mean that. Here's the thing. Everybody looks to the Alabama game and they think, oh, man, they dominated the line of scrimmage. Well, if you pay attention to college football, Alabama's offensive line is horrible. It's one of the worst that I think I've seen Alabama have since Saban has been there. So saying that Texas dominated their offensive line is not really anything that we should be afraid of. And another thing is our offensive line is not Alabama's. That would be the thing to keep in mind. Our offensive line is very, very good.
Brian,
But oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What is this K-State line ready for that challenge?
I think they are. They absolutely are. You know, and this is maybe what they've been building up to the last couple of weeks, just getting in stride for the simple fact, look, here it is. Everything that we talked about, and I applaud you, Tim, because you brought it up after the Oklahoma State game. Everything is still in front of us. Well, we're here. Like, we are literally here. And this is what we've all been building up to go to Austin and win this football game. And it's going to be physical, but at the offensive side of the ball, we just have to be the more physical team. And I think we can be the more physical team. You got to have a good plan. Don't get me wrong. We got to have a good plan. But I think we are the more physical team. We can go to Texas and win. There are holes in that Texas foot. We saw OU take advantage of those holes, and OU's not very good. Let's just be honest.
No,
OU's
they're
not
not.
very good.
They're not. We'll get to them in the second half.
Yeah.
I got plenty to say about that game. Plenty, but Tim, this is a huge opportunity. K-State was 6-2, and 4-1 at this point last year. But this is a huge obstacle. This is a much bigger obstacle than K-State had at any point last year. Pretty much, not mathematically, but in reality, you got to win this game if you want to go back to Arlington and defend your title.
Absolutely. And I would say K-State has lost to much worse Texas teams in Austin over the last decade, which has been since 2011, I think, was the last time K-State won in Austin. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It helps a little bit that they're not going to have Quinn Ewers. That's going to be helpful. I think the Malik Murphy, is that his name? Yeah, correct. He's talented. They like him a lot. Obviously, they like him more than Arch Manning as a freshman, which is interesting that Avery has played as much and Arch Manning can't make the field. Texas, intriguing. But I don't think that he is seen. The pressure that BYU brought is not going to be the same as the pressure that the K-State defense is going to bring. And I think that that's going to be a whole different deal for him to kind of deal with. But it'll be tough. It'll be the toughest game of the season by far. But I think the confidence level has never been higher for this team. So we'll see.
And they got a game under him. That honestly is nice that you got Murphy in there last week, so K-State has some film on him. Look what happened with TCU. They had the freshman quarterback get in there, and he balled out. He was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. And then the next week, they came to Manhattan and scored 3 points. K-State only had about one game of film on him, but that was enough. I think that's crucial. Had Ewers just gotten hurt this past week and K-State's working with nothing on Malik Murphy, that's a different story than saying, okay, here's what he did against BYU. And like you said, I think K-State's defense is better than BYU's.
I was really interested in the fact that the broadcast crew kept saying they plan on putting Arch Manning in for a few series. Malik Murphy knows that. That's part of the plan. And then they never did it. And I think the reason why they never did it is they got into that game and realized we need to give him every snap possible because he's not ready. They leaned on their running game. Their running game is awesome. That offensive line has been is very good. It hasn't been as good as last year, but they've got an upside that's enormous. So they just kind of ran the ball with him and let him take some snaps and kept him in safe plays. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't overwhelmed. They kept saying what a great arm he has, and I saw a lot of balls just floating out there.
Tons of them.
He seemed indecisive and not wanting to make a mistake. When you start just floating the ball out there to try to lay it in someone's hands, you're going to make a mistake.
Correct. And some of that was, I would guess, nerves.
Right.
First time playing, first time out there, a little nervous, doesn't want to make a mistake. Here's the chatter about over his shoulder. But one quick side note, Arch Manning isn't on the field because Arch Manning isn't very good.
No.
I'll just throw that out there right now. Arch Manning is just not very good. But that's a side note. But yeah, their offensive line is what they're going to lean on. That running game is very good at Texas. So it's going to be important for K-State to be gap sound, to bring run pressure whenever they have the opportunity, and more importantly than anything else, tackle. Got to tackle. Because that running back, he can run that football, man. They just can't.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate Texas on winning that recruiting battle for Arch Manning. It's kind of like having a war for a desert, and after you win, you're like, well, what the hell do I do with this? Nothing going on here. No Las Vegas, I guess. Tim, this is just an enormous opportunity for K-State. It's one of those moments that feels so opportune for K-State that it makes me worry, man. It does. I just hope K-State comes out and just does what they've been doing and don't get outside of themselves.
They have it all in front of them here. They beat Texas. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State have to play each other. That eliminates one of them. K-State has to play Iowa State. That'll take care of that, and KU. It is the path to return to Arlington is right there, and it's clear as day, and that is terrifying. That is a scary, scary proposition.
Glenn, after all of this talk from us and the national media about Oklahoma, Texas, they're going to be playing for the Big 12 title in their last year. We're two different outcomes on Saturday. K-State winning at Texas, Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma in Stillwater, where K-State, Oklahoma State will be in the driver's seat for the Big 12 championship. That would be incredible for this conference.
I'm sure K-State, by the way, would love nothing more than another shot at Oklahoma State. That's a game they feel like they absolutely should have won. But yeah, I think given the Jayhawks win over the weekend and then K-State's opportunity in Austin this weekend, I would like to say, we could look back and say, where were you when the two schools from Kansas saved the Big 12, right? Oklahoma and Texas thought they were going to sail in. And then Lance Leipold and Chris Kleiman said, not so. No, it's an incredible opportunity. My biggest concern, I guess, is just that K-State hasn't been great on the road. The last 2 weeks they've been absolutely dominant, like we said, but they're 1-2 on the road this year. They did win their last road game in Lubbock, but they just didn't play great against Missouri, and obviously not against Oklahoma State. I hope that they're confident enough right now that that's not even a factor. Oh, we're on the road. I think it's a really confident group right now, but they're going to have to we've seen guys play really good. They're going to have to play even better. Texas is just so talented. I mentioned Keenan Garber was really good. He's going to have to be even better. Jacob Parrish was really, really good. All these guys have to take their game to another level because Texas is so talented and they just don't need much. I think they're going to make K-State pay if they make mistakes. I don't think K-State's going to get away with many mistakes. Let me put it that way. So they're going to have to bring their A game. I think it's I'm stating the obvious, and it sounds overly simple, but it's going to be two really good football teams, I think, going at it.
Oh, it will be. Oh, Glenn just died. No, he didn't. No, he's back. Oh my gosh. I thought, oh.
I said two really good football teams, and they said, Glenn, that was just not exciting enough. You're kicked out.
You're watching The Insiders, brought to you by GoPowerCat.com. We've gone really long in this first half. We need to take a break here, but our producer, Tom Terrible, reminds you to like and subscribe if you're not done so. And remember to head to the Fridge Wholesale Liquor for your adult beverage needs. They're not the sponsor of this podcast, but since we don't have one, he's right. Go to the Fridge. The Fridge has the best liquor trees in the nation. They take the liquor fresh off the trees every morning and sell it to you. That's how incredible they are. Let me get over here to the right place because we need to go to break now. If you've been watching this on a regular basis, you know how long this break is. Don't go to the Fridge. Well, don't go to the Fridge right now. Don't go to your Fridge. I got confused. We'll be back.
Go to break.
Yeah. And like that, we're right back to the Insiders. A shorter second half here than normal, but let's get into some really important topics. Let's take a tour around the Big 12. And the first important topic is talking trash on the Oklahoma Sooners. It means a lot to me when we get to do this. I'd like to point out that Oklahoma's done a great job of coming into Kansas and taking away recruits so that they could lose to KU and K-State. That's very nice of them. Brian, did you watch much of that game? And I think KU's good. I've been saying it, but they're not great. They didn't have to play their A game to win.
No.
Oklahoma is really beatable. I think Oklahoma State's going to give them problems.
Yeah. I mean, look, OU played, it was their Super Bowl to beat Texas.
Right.
And Texas played their C- game against OU. Let's just call it what it is. They didn't. OU is not that good of a football team. I don't want to take away. Well, I kind of want to take away from KU, but I don't want to take away from KU because, again, KU wasn't just lights out in that football game. They weren't, but they played good enough to win. You know, even at the end, KU tried to give it away. I mean, they were trying to give OU the game. You know, it's just OU's just not that good of a football team. They're just not. I can't understand. Look, I'm a Brent Venables fan. I know a lot of K-State people are still mad at him, but I am a Brent Venables fan. He was a coach of mine. He used to be honest, telling me I loved him when he was here. And the guy can't – I just don't understand what's going on there. I really, really don't, because the quarterback, as much as people want to like him and he's gritty and he's tough, that's not what OU – that's not a typical OU quarterback. It's not. The typical OU quarterback is really, really good. You know, he's one of the best 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the country. That's what I'm used to when I see an OU football team. That's not what they have in Dylan Gabriel. And that's not, I mean, OU's just not that good. The offensive line and defensive lines are not spectacular. That's part of their problem. They're just not that great of a football team.
If you're a K-State fan, you're probably genuinely really bummed out that you don't get Oklahoma in their last year, because I think K-State could beat them. I would have told you that KU was going to have to play, like we said, their best game and put it all together. And for them to not have Jalen Daniels, and then for Jason Bean to throw 2 fourth-quarter interceptions and still win that football game. Honestly, it sounds like I'm kidding, but I'm not when I say that I think K-State probably is like, dang, I wish we could have beat OU one more time. They would have been, what, 3 of 4 or 4 or 5 under Kleiman or something on their way out the door. But the Jayhawks did it for them.
Look, guys, let's review what Oklahoma's accomplished this season. They beat Arkansas State 73-0. I mean, when you win by that much, you're trying to make yourself feel pretty good. SMU, they beat them 28-11. SMU's not bad. Tulsa's not great, 66-17. Then they beat Cincinnati. They beat Iowa State, which has turned out to be a pretty decent football team. They beat Texas. And then they beat UCF, and then they lost to Kansas. UCF and Cincinnati are 0-10 in this conference, and they're just not very good. This Oklahoma State game might be their last threat. They've got West Virginia coming in the following week. I don't think West Virginia is that good, even though the record shows they are pretty decent. Then you go to BYU and play TCU. I just mentioned Tim Everson that it might be working out where if there's Oklahoma State and K-State win this weekend, they could meet in the Big 12 championship. But if Oklahoma wins that game, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship unless they just stumble over someone. Who would you prefer? If K-State can win on Saturday, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, get the revenge game against Oklahoma State, or one goodbye kiss for the Sooners as they head to the SEC?
Well, there was a certain game that was played about 10 years ago in Kansas City.
It was 20.
20 years ago? It was 20.
It was 20 years.
20.
Snuck up on you, didn't
it? I was, 20 years ago was what I meant to say. 2 decades. That would be a pretty fun way to send them along. I think that, I don't know. Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon, man, he's scary. He's a scary running back.
I think he's going to give him problems.
Yeah, all due respect, Devin Neal and the KU running backs. I don't know if Oklahoma's ready for Ollie Gordon. He's on one, and no one is more upset probably about the entire Oklahoma and Texas leaving situation than Oklahoma State is.
Mike Gundy specifically.
And no one, I think, wants to win against them more
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's either of those teams more than Oklahoma State wants to send them along with a loss and then never play them again if Mike Gundy has his way. So
Mike Gundy's proved why he's a great coach. He looked around his
Mhm.
locker room when the team's struggling and realized he's got I don't even know what Ollie Gordon is, 6'3" running back with looks like Eric Dickerson, is really fast, elusive, powerful. And he thought, I'll give him the ball. And that was his coaching, and it's been brilliant. Ollie Gordon's special, man. He is so good. He's so fun to watch. He's a problem for everyone, but I think he's going to really give Oklahoma a lot of problems. But Oklahoma wants to take him away and make it about Alan Bowman, and if they can do that, they'll probably win.
Yeah, Oklahoma. That should be a good game. I would tell you this when it relates to your question about who would K-State rather see in the Big 12 championship. I think Oklahoma is probably the better team. I know that K-State would love to send Oklahoma off to the SEC with a loss, but I know that K-State would love to get that rematch with Oklahoma State. That's one that I without them saying it, I just know they feel like they should have won.
Yeah.
They feel like they were by far the better team, and they feel like they beat themselves more than Oklahoma State beat themselves. Either one would be an exciting matchup, but we're getting ahead of ourselves now because it all starts with winning in Austin this weekend. If you don't do that, you're probably behind the eight ball on ending up in Arlington.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say the same thing. All you got to do to make this a problem or make this a question worth answering is just win at Texas.
Yep.
Which used to be something K-State did, Brian, but I think Texas got sick of losing to K-State and about 5-6 years ago said, hey, we've been circling the wrong game. I don't know what other game besides Oklahoma they were circling, but they've circled K-State. K-State's got their full attention. I saw things in that game last week with BYU that I thought was clearly prep for K-State, clearly trying to get Malik Murphy ready to go, trying to show some things on film. They know what's coming. They know how good K-State is. Sark's no dummy.
Yeah, they understand how good K-State is. I think they understand the challenge. But it's another thing that Texas has a lot riding on this game too. I know we're talking about a lot for K-State, and we do have a lot. Texas is trying to get in the college football playoff, and beating another ranked team, they got everything in front of them. They win this game, and then they go on and they win the Big 12. They're right there. They are going to be right there. So I just believe that they are going to come out and with high intensity. And it's going to be important for K-State to match that intensity early. Get into the middle of the second quarter within 3 points or have the lead. Put some real game pressure on Malik Murphy. That's my thing. That's what I've been saying about Brock Purdy with the 49ers all along. Put some real game pressure. Well, we're seeing what's happening with him. He's falling completely apart. You put some real game pressure on Malik Murphy. Hey, K-State's up 3 points, 4 points in the middle of the third quarter. Yeah. How do you respond to that when you can't run the football? When you think that all you can do is run the football, and K-State said, no, you're going to have to throw it to beat us. What's going to happen? I'm excited to see that right there, because if K-State can do that and put some real game pressure, that's where I think the game is won, because K-State has decided, Texas, you're not running it. Make this guy beat us throwing the football, and I don't think he can.
Glenn, he brought up something because he's a pro, that K-State's back in the rankings at 25. Kansas is what, 22?
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, oddly, isn't in the rankings despite beating those two teams and not losing to anyone since beating those two teams. Go wrap your mind around that. But Matthew Hasselhorst asked this question. K-State started top 15, loses to two teams, to top 20 and number 26. Every win's a blowout, and the K-State's still 25, aggravating. Is it worth worrying about? Or I kind of feel like K-State's still getting punished for two bad losses that have turned into good losses, but the voters are too dumb to realize they're not bad losses now.
I think you're partially right about that. I also think, given what Kansas and their rankings did over the weekend, we're learning that the voters value a big win. They value you beating a top 10 team by 3 or 5 more than they value you beating maybe a team towards the bottom of your conference by 90, right? So I think
unless you're
K-State, Yeah, yeah. K-State doesn't necessarily have a huge win. They have a chance to get it this weekend, and they'll. I bet they'll be definitely top 20. What am I crazy to say top 15 if they win this weekend? But
I think
the
so.
K-State doesn't have a win over. Do they have a win over a top
Nope.
25 team?
Nope. Nope.
So
Nope.
that's probably part of it.
Well, part of it's the disrespect when they lost to Missouri. There were 15 in the country. We lose on a 61-yard field goal on the road. And we not just fall out of the rankings. I think we only got like 2 or 3 votes to be in the AP top 25. How does that even happen? I mean, you wouldn't hear anything like that happening now. And now, how does that even happen?
No,
it
crazy,
was
Brian.
unbelievable.
If he misses that 61-yarder, K-State probably maybe goes from like 15 to 12, but he makes the 61-yarder and they go from 15 to unranked. That was goofy, but yeah, I was gonna say actually relating to the rankings, almost I don't know if it would have been better if they were unranked this week, or maybe we need to pitch in and say some really bad things about them. These guys seem to perform better when nobody believes in them, when everybody counts them out, when people are saying, oh, they can't even beat Oklahoma State, oh, they lost to Missouri. Like, these guys play really, really good when people like don't think they can. And so I don't know if one of you guys wants to take on that role of maybe saying Cooper Beebe. I don't even think Cooper Beebe can block anybody.
He's average.
Yeah.
Totally average.
I mean, I get what you're saying, Glenn. You're 100% right, but there won't be a national pundit anywhere in this country that picks K-State to win this football game.
Nope.
There won't be not one person that picks K-State to win this football game. So that should be all the motivation that those guys need right there.
Right.
Plenty of that. Also, K-State was an 18-point favorite going into last Saturday and won by 41. So I mean,
there you go.
They'll be fine.
Okay, before we wrap up shop here, go ahead, Glenn. Go.
I was going to say, is Tim staying out of the media availability since it worked so well last week? I thought they talk about blocking out the outside noise. I thought maybe Tim that was.
I am the outside noise. Hey, I was there for TCU, so you can't until there's a real pattern.
I wonder if I can get down to Thread and get my "I am the outside noise" T-shirt printed up for them to wear at tomorrow's press conference. I don't know if I have enough energy to bother with that. Hey, I'm going to roll a couple hand grenades in to hear your responses. But has Avery Johnson been the best thing to happen to Will Howard?
100%. 100%.
Not Avery, but the situation.
Yeah, the situation pissed him off. I think it was the best thing, number one, that happened to Will. It's the best thing that happened to the coaching staff and Avery. You get some success. You go out there, you play well. The starter's struggling, and he was struggling. You go out there, you have some success, and then you push him. All of a sudden, the starter gets better, and then Avery struggles. Now, I'm not saying he played bad, but he didn't play great. He struggles. That is the best thing that the coaching staff wanted to see. You get this guy that's going to be a superstar at K-State, get him some experience, get him some success, but also, hey, this isn't just, sunshine and roses. This is big-time football, and he didn't play well, didn't play great. And Will Howard did. He said, you know what, this is my job. I waited all this time to get the job. I'm not giving this up. This is the best thing that happened, I think, for the program this year. Other than, granted, we lost some games, I'm just saying it's the best thing that could have happened for everybody.
And Fitz, you were there last Tuesday when we talked with Will Howard. He was as professional as he could be, but he wasn't happy.
It is what it is.
You asked him, I think, about what it's like trading off, and he said it is what it is. You got to control what you can control, right? And you could tell he was biting his tongue as if to say, hey, if it were up to me, I wouldn't be splitting reps with anybody, right? He didn't say it, but right?
That was it. He just left. He's back.
Oh, I'm back. But yeah, he didn't say it, but he was thinking it, and he played really well on Saturday. I mean, I think this is Will Howard wants this. He wants it for K-State. We know that he's the team player, and I'm not saying he's not. Let's be very clear about that. But he wants it for K-State. But this is years in the making, guys. He's been at K-State for 4 years. He's been with that offensive line his whole time at K-State. He knows those guys. He's been with Phil Brooks the whole time. He's been with Seth Porter the whole time. Like, this is a year that's been like years in the making for Will Howard, and he didn't want it to be taken away.
No, Tim, as the guy that writes for a living, this was kind of old school for me. This was Bill Snyder kind of sending a message, hey, we got these guys that are ready to play. And it's worked out. We're seeing similar situations at receiver. We're seeing it in the secondary where they're putting some new guys on the field, and the other guys seem to be responding to it. I love the competition within the locker room that is friendly.
Yeah, I mean, it really shows the strength of the culture that Chris Kleiman has built, and really has, they did the full reset during the COVID year. And then they've just kind of built on that and built on that and built on that. And, it really, it really has shown in kind of the darkest moments of this season. That is what has kind of shown through, is how good of just people are in that locker room, and how much they care about K-State as a university. They care about the team. They care about their teammates. They want to win. They want to win for the school. They want to win for their teammates. It's special to see, and you see there's tons of cliches about this, but when you see it in a situation like this, where it's laid out so clearly that's what's happening, it really is cool to kind of witness. Full selflessness all the way around.
Yep.
Well, part of being selflessness too. Guys want to win. They want to look good. Guys want to play well and play well for themselves. They want to win. They want to win for their school, but they also want to be out there. They want to be part of it and contribute. It's one thing to be on the team and the team doing well, but you want to be a factor in why the team is doing well. And that's not selfish at all. People sometimes think that's selfish. I think that's crazy talk. People just want to be out there and be a factor in why the team is winning.
And when you play that morning game, you got Aggieville at night to be loved.
Hey,
you're the star.
Hey, that's
Not
right.
the Libre, baby.
I don't know anything about that.
The other thing that I would add is I think it's a testament to Colin Klein and his ability to adjust and to game plan. If I would have told you before the season that K-State was going to win by what they win by 38 and then 41 and get next to nothing out of Keegan Johnson and RJ Garcia in both those games,
nothing,
you would have called me crazy, right?
Yes.
Colin Klein has made this thing work without, quite frankly, probably the two guys, you could say Phillip Brooks probably too, but two of the guys who you thought would be their best offensive weapons. And they've been, I'm not dissing them, they just haven't been very involved in that offense, and they've still made it work with Jace Brown. They've gotten a guy like Jaden Jackson involved in different ways. They've made it work with the running backs. Colin Klein adjusted when a lot of OCs probably would have been like, oh no, these two receivers, what am I going to do? So impressive.
Well, I'm just going to say this. Keegan Johnson's been less effective than me in a room of supermodels. It's nothing going on. It's just not working. It's a bad formula. I'm going to roll one more topic out there for you guys before we wrap up shop for this week. Brian, how good's KU? They just beat Oklahoma. That was a huge win. They stormed the field. They took that goalpost and put it in water. I don't know if that's magical thing or what, if it reacts with the rocks and the chalk. I'm not sure. But that was a huge win. They're off to Iowa State. Is KU for real?
I don't like answering these questions.
I know, that's why I asked.
I don't like it. But unfortunately, KU is good.
Yeah,
KU has a good football team. They just do, man. Look, you can say that whatever you want to say, whatever you want to come up with, there's no denying that KU has a good football team. And it would be foolish for anybody to think that they don't have a good football team, because they do. And I'm not saying that, because they beat OU, because OU's not world beaters, but OU's not horrible either. Let's not kid ourselves. OU's not a horrible football team. And they beat them, and KU played maybe their C game and beat them without their starting quarterback and beat them. So, yes, KU has a good football team, and that's all that my stomach's going to allow me to say.
Glenn, you were there, weren't you?
I wasn't there. We had a reporter there.
Oh, I thought you were. Were you in Manhattan? No, you weren't. Landon was there. Did you just take the weekend off?
I was in studio. Don't you worry. I was still working.
Studio.
I was covering some Washburn Ichabods, man.
Oh, that's good. That's okay. That's a valid when you're in the Topeka market. That's valid.
Yes, sir.
But This was huge for KU. I admire it, and I think Lance Leipold is the absolute real deal.
Yeah, I mean, had they lost this game, right, the conversation or narrative would have been second straight year that you start 5-0 and then you struggle to get that sixth win. Last year they lost 3 or 4 in a row after going 5-0. They almost look like maybe you do the same thing, and then you do it with a win against Oklahoma with the lights really bright. I think maybe one question when Leipold got there was like, okay, he turned him around at Buffalo. Like that's why I thought it was a great hire. They didn't need it just a great coach. They needed somebody who had proven that they could take. A lot of guys could take a really good program and keep it really good. They needed someone that could take a program from absolute zero to being competitive, and he's done that. And I think we're learning that he's not just going to take them from being horrible to being okay, but he actually has higher goals than that. That's a huge win. Their defense has come a really long way. They got a lot of playmakers, and I'll tell you this: they're gonna circle that one on the calendar, the matchup with the Cats in Lawrence. At Big 12 basketball media days, there was some Jayhawk maybe reporters there that were or people from Kansas City area even that were asking other KU reporters, can we beat K-State? Can we beat K-State? That they're gonna be up for that one, I guarantee you.
Yeah. Tim, Abolition Bowl this year in Lawrence. That's my new name for it. I'm kind of proud of it. Yeah. It's going to be a good one. I think K-State's a better team as of right now, but it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be, I mean, it may be the first time since, I'm trying to remember, because I had looked this up last year because it was possibly going to be in play, and then KU started to lose. But the first time that both teams have played ranked since like 1996, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
That was a K-State blowout.
Yeah, and they K-State kicked the ever-living crap out of them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that this is a much more this KU team is very real.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be perfectly honest here. This is, this last stretch of games is all part of a long and very important audition process for Lance Leipold and for Michigan State.
Okay.
Michigan State head coach Lance Leipold, and
just went there, didn't he?
They're not going to like that. They're not going to like that.
Michigan State Spartan quarterback Jalen Daniels.
Oh, oh my God, it's relentless. Okay,
I'm going to get emails, Tim.
I know.
Can we just say for anyone listening on the podcast, that was Tim Everson, Manhattan Mercury, that said that. Glenn Kinley did not say that.
Glenn texted me all of that earlier today.
I need to make him a second T-shirt at Thread. Blame Tim. That'll be the second T-shirt.
He is the outside noise.
He is. He's the outside noise on the insiders. Hey, okay, let's wrap it up real quick with one word answers. It's an easy question. Does K-State win at Texas, Brian Hanley?
Yes.
Oh, pretty definitive. Mr. Tim.
Yeah.
Len.
Yeah.
It's so hard to say no. You just want to be loved. I'm going with it. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Insiders to brag about us being right, or I will delete this podcast and it never happened. I appreciate everyone watching and listening and hanging out with us. We had a lot of people in the room today. It was really cool. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're following the channel, and make sure you come back next week for another edition of the Insiders.